I woke up to find myself facing the window in the dark, his voice in the dream so vivid. Maybe he was at the window. I got out of the bed to check the small roof overhang below my window. Both the courtyard and the garden beyond were dark and still. I went back to bed. The next morning the same song played on the clock radio that always heralded Ken's appearance. Suddenly his voice cut in, beside me speaking. It was a clip from an interview about his movie premiere that evening. I got up and showered, wondering if caught in a loop. After class I headed into the city for the cinema. I crossed the back streets quickly, wiping the sweat from my palms onto my jeans. I had to do this, do something, anything to respond. I arrived at the back of the crowd behind a hanging rope. A few well-dressed people walked along the red carpet and into the cinema. Then a four-wheel drive with dark windows pulled up. It was Ken with a beautiful co-star. They passed quickly on the far side of the carpet and didn't even look at the crowd. A teenage girl behind me said to her friends, "Quick, let's go around the back. They never stay for the movie." I followed them around the block to a lane behind the cinema and stood at the back entrance. The street stank of fermenting garbage. I crossed to the far side of the road and stood alone near a brick wall, surveying the small, scattered group. A fat man walked past in a t-shirt that said, "Come on inside," and he smiled warmly at me. I was so angry. How could I get in? I returned to the front of the cinema and walked up to the security guard. "I need to get inside." He shook his head without speaking. "I need to use the bathroom urgently," I said pathetically. He was resilient. After an hour and a half, I was still standing beside the red carpet at the front of the rope when he arrived at the front doors again and the crowd surged. Ken slowly came down the carpet out of the cinema, shaking hands. For a moment he glanced at me like a flash from a camera. He looked terrified. He quickly moved on to greet more fans down the rope line, and I was stunned. Why was he so frightened of me? I watched him get in the car and leave and started walking back to the house, past the giant billboard of him as clouds swept across the sky near his face, like dust on a blackboard. Just then, a taxi pulled over ahead of me beside the footpath. The door was open, waiting. It was a sign for me to get inside. Somehow I knew this to be true. As I approached with each step, my thoughts raced. And if I follow, how much further will it take me away from what is real? I stepped on, past the open taxi door, and it shut with a bang. I reached the corner and turned down the street. He will surely leave me now, I thought. A wave of guilt rolled over me, and for a moment I wondered if my feelings were even real. Please, please be patient with me. I know when I finally see you, I won't be afraid. That weekend I went along to see his movie. The cinema was packed, and I sat among a sea of heads and watched as the story unfolded. I forgot the cinema, the crowd, the seat. It was just me and him, and the story between. Occasionally his image on screen, so powerful I had to look away. When I arrived home, I collapsed on the couch to watch television when the phone rang. "Is that you?" The voice was unmistakable. It was Ken. "Excuse me?" I asked. "Sorry, I thought you were someone else." "Stop," I said quickly. "Help me." But he had already hung up. I grabbed the car keys and drove to a telephone booth and called directory assistance. I asked for a phone number of the hotel where Ken was staying for the premiere of his new movie. When I called, I kept getting a fax signal. I drove to an internet cafe and scribbled "help me" on a piece of paper and paid to send the message by fax to the number I'd been given. Maybe the SOS would get out from behind the veil of silence that everyone hid behind, like an iron curtain. I am in a jungle. It's dark and wet. I try to grab the thick vines hanging down around me, but they fall slack to the ground. I can't climb out. I am wading through ankle-deep water, as if the tide is coming in, even indoors. I woke up. So much water everywhere in my dreams. I was nearly swamped in waking life too, floating, awash in a world of mirrors. I was constantly flexed to expect anything, everything, and nothing in each day. I couldn't get my eyes off myself long enough to concentrate and articulate where I wanted to be tomorrow, next week, or next year. I had problems focusing, became guarded and reclusive, suspicious of anyone who might know the secret, not sure who or what to trust.